Good morning and welcome to my hobby table yet again. So today I'm going to be showing and demonstrating a new cleaning material that was provided to me by a friend of mine, Mike, who just so happens to be the same person that I did the trade deal with for the Super Tiger G90 engine. Now what I've got here is a completely disassembled Irvine 40 Mark II. And those of you that have watch my channel regularly will know about this engine and its history. Otherwise, I'll see if I can put some links to it in the description so that you can watch those other videos. But this engine was donated to me by a friend, Floyd, and it had been on an airplane for a long time. So I'll just talk about this engine for a bit. It's a pretty old engine. Quite old. It ran very, very well. I was under the impression the way it ran and how it felt that the bearings were good on it. But I did have someone comment saying, boy, it'd be a shame since that engine runs so good not to actually try and clean it up. So I have decided, and especially since Mike assisted me, I wasn't even going to attempt to clean this with LA's Totally Awesome Cleaner. I'm pretty sour on that cleaner right now because of what it has done to many people's engines and what it did to my Sato FA130T crankcase. But Mike says he's used this on several engines and it works really well. In fact, anyway, let me just go back and let me just talk about this engine. So let's just show you the condition of this crankcase. This is probably the best side and closest to what it looked like originally. And you can see this engine, I don't know how it was stored or where, but it's pretty rough looking. So I want to get a good look here at all of these parts prior to cleaning so that we can see how well this material does. And then I'll talk a little bit about the material. Then we'll put the parts in the ultrasonic cleaner and get it clean. So the bearings in this engine, if you hear them, hang on a second here. So the bearings, here's the front bearing. It actually feels really good. I may not do anything with that. This rear bearing, Sasha's on the other table there knocking stuff off. It doesn't feel bad. It has a little bit of noise. But so the thing is, I'm considering replacing the bearings on this engine if this thing cleans up and it looks perfect and it looks like brand new again. And the reason I only say if is because this thing has, this rear main bearing is a strange size, and my standard bearing supplier, Brandt from eBay, he doesn't carry this bearing. The only place I've found these bearings, my standard bearing supplier doesn't carry these bearings, and the only place I've actually found these is on Boca Bearing site, and they're really expensive. And when I say really expensive, I mean this set of bearings from Boca is gonna cost, with shipping and taxes, about $45. So it's like one of those things I'm used to when I replace bearings from Brandt. I'm used to paying $12 for a set of bearings. So that's why I'm only considering doing that. Otherwise, I'm gonna put these in the ultrasonic cleaner, clean them up, and if they still feel halfway decent, I'll just put those back in here. So that's a bit of the history of this engine. Now, the cleaner I'm going to use, well, let me move this off to the side here first. Let me just show you what my ultrasonic cleaner looks like. Those of you that haven't seen it in a while. It's not the Harbor Freight one that I used to use for many years. This is just one I got from eBay. It was probably about $60, and the thing I like about this is it's all analog and it's got a separate heat gauge and a timer. Whereas the one from Harbor Freight, that cheapo one that was white plastic, you turn it on and it heated up. You had no idea what the temperature was, and it was an 8-minute cycle. Then you had to keep turning it back on. So this one allows me a little bit more functionality. So that's what I'm going to be using. Now the cleaning material I'm going to be using is a white powder. And it's called Zep. It's from Zep. It's Formula 15282, and Mike provided me with a bag of it here, so I'm probably going to measure out about I'll say a third of a cup of this with some already heated up water and then see how much additional water I need. And I'm going to drop all these parts in here and just turn this thing on and let it run for, I don't know, the instructions for that material say it's for hot vac type cleaners. I'm probably going to set it for about 104 degrees and maybe 10 minutes in the cleaner and see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing on and at least start. No, I don't want to turn that on until I get water in there. I'm going to go grab a measuring device, put the water in here, and then we'll drop the parts in and then we'll clean it for a bit and compare what they look like afterwards. Okay, so I've changed my mind. I read Mike's email and he said use a 1/4 cup. So I'm going to measure out a 1/4 cup of this material and just put it in here. Make sure I really clean that 1/4 cup because that's a 1/4 cup I use for measuring food items. Close that up and put it away. Now I'm going to put, this is already some pre-warmed water. And now some other lukewarm water. And I'm not sure how much more I'm going to need. Now I can turn this on. And I'm going to set it to about 104 degrees and see what happens there. I may need to go put a little bit more water in here. Okay, so this is interesting. Because of the preheated water I put in here and then some of the lukewarm water, my heater LED or light went off at 104 already. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop these parts in here. Now, yes, this does still have the piston and the connecting rod in there. Because of how I took this thing apart, I just didn't choose to pull that sleeve out. So we're just going to run it like this and see what happens. And it looks like I might need to get a little bit more water to get these parts fully submerged, so stand by. Okay, I want to get these parts fully submerged, so I'm going to put a little bit more in there and then just keep dropping parts in here, especially this front housing. This thing was really looking pretty poor. Make sure we have room for this exhaust. Now these parts, as mentioned in my previous video, they just feel really rough on the outside. I think the only carburetor part I'm going to put in here is maybe just this throttle barrel head. And the rear cover doesn't need to be in there. Nothing else really needs to go in there, so I'm going to drop this rear bearing in here. And let's fire up the agitation for 10 minutes. Okay, so we just completed 10 minutes of vibration at 104 degrees using this solution, and let's turn this over and see what this looks like. That's not bad. Some of this I'm sure is not going to come clean. Let's see what it did at the top of the piston. I might be able to run this in here for just a little bit longer, but this kind of discoloring, this is discoloring and it feels rough. This is something I might have to see if about taking some, like I said, that 2000 emery cloth to and seeing if I can clean it up. But otherwise, that doesn't look too bad. It was pretty rough looking before. I'm going to set these parts here on the table before I'm going to put them in a different bin because I'm going to rinse them with alcohol. Here's the front housing. So it cleaned these parts, but it was unable, which I didn't believe it would anyway, be able to restore the already discolored portion of this. So it looks like I've lost the gasket here, so hopefully that's be all right to run without it. Otherwise I'll see if my standard gasket supplier can get a new gasket. But so It cleaned these, but it didn't make this engine look perfect again, which I really had no real thoughts on that it would. It doesn't look like it really did anything to this at all. Still feels rough, just like it was. Let's see what it did to the head. Cleaned the head pretty well. I might put the head and that main casting back in here, and just to see if it'll do anything more with that top of that piston. Here's our thrust washer, which I figured that would clean up pretty well. But again, a lot of this stuff was discolored from age, and I really didn't expect it to restore that. Didn't really do much with this. Again, this is going to be one of those things that's just going to have to be used with the emery cloth on it. Crankcase, crankshaft, same thing. Emery cloth to try to shine that up a little bit more. Here's that bearing. Still sounds, you can still hear it, but I'm going to lubricate it up really well and probably save myself $45. And many of you may be saying, well, why don't you just invest in the money, you know, and replace those bearings? Well, the reason I'm probably not is because my intentions with this engine are do a few more runs and then it's probably going to sit. It was given to me. That's what I thought was in here. It was given to me, so I have a habit or a policy of not selling engines that were given to me as gifts. So the only thing I can do with this engine would be to trade it for something of equivalent value, or to just let it sit. And you know, I'll run it maybe 3 or 4 more times and these bearings will be plenty fine for something like that. So anyway, I think I'm going to put this thing back in here just for another short while, and this head, and look at this. As this thing starts to dry, it's really starting to kind of look oxidized. So I'm going to wash these parts with alcohol and then probably go and oil them up real good and kind of scrub them down with that automotive paint primer, like 2000, 3000 grit emery cloth, and see if I can't get them looking a little bit better, but they'll get a nice coating of oil on them. So all in all, it looks like this cleaner works. It removes stuff, but if you've already got a discolored engine, it's not going to restore it by any shape, means, or whatsoever. That's not going to happen with anything. The only way to ever make one of these look like new again would be to soda blast or bead blast it with some really fine media. And when you do that, you're completely removing whatever the top surface finish was on the engine. Hell, this may be doing that also, so I don't really know. But I guess I don't know what to say about, you know, there's just no way aside from soda blasting that you can means that you can use to, you know, make a discolored engine look like new again. So that's the video for today, and thank you, Mike, for giving me a sample of that cleaner. It looks like it cleans pretty well. It might be worth using again. I'm probably not going to discard this material. I'm going to let it sit in here just in the event that, oh well, I'm going to put this crankcase back in here and run it some more. I do have another engine coming to me that's going to require some cleaning, so I'm going to use it on that. But for now, I'm just going to run this a bit more. Thank you for watching. Okay, just as a follow-up to this Irvine 40 engine that I have and just finished cleaning, I thought this was a Sport 40 Mark II because I couldn't find this exact engine anywhere, but you can see how it looks now after I've cleaned it. I did do a little bit of emery cloth on the heads and certain areas here just to try to make it look a little bit cleaner. Here's the exhaust real quick. The exhaust was pretty rough looking. It looks a lot better. It probably looks even better in person than this video is showing it, but it looks pretty good. But so what I was saying was, I don't know what the hell this Irvine engine is. It's a 40, I know that much. It doesn't have the same casting as the, what was it, some ABC engine. I can't remember what it was called now. I'll have to put it up here. But I mean, there's just things about this that I don't understand. But I did figure out, or at least determined exactly, and I can put a picture up that's a little bit better than this. This is an ABC engine. This is not a ringed engine. Some of the Sport 40s Mark IIs had Dykes ringed engines. I just read that on one of the reviews that I saw. But I'm looking at this, and this engine is ringed. And I did use the same bearings. They felt fine for my purposes. So like I said, my purposes are, if you didn't watch the other videos, and honestly, I'm not sure if I'm just going to make a whole new video for this or tag it onto the back of another one. I don't know yet. My purposes are, this was an engine given to me from Florida Floyd. And if you watch the other videos, you'll see the condition it was in. But this engine, listen. This is an ABC engine because when I looked at it, I was reassembling it, and like I said, I'll put a better picture up there. I did not take the sleeve or the piston out when I did the cleaning. I just said, the hell with it, I'll leave it in there, and I've also got a picture here of what the top of the piston looks like now. But I mean, so I don't know what this engine is. All I know is it's an Irvine 40 ABC engine, and it ran like a top before I cleaned it, and I'm sure it's going to run even better. I mean, the bearings are fine in here for my purposes, and my purposes are being that it's going to get on the stand 2 or 3 more times, and then it's going to sit. This engine was a gift to me from Florida Floyd. I don't sell engines that have been gifted to me. The only thing I do with them is either give them away or trade them for other engines, because I won't profit from the generosity of another person unless they specifically say, yes, you can sell this engine, and then I might think about it. But this engine is really nice. I was impressed as hell with this engine when I ran it, and I really can't wait to get it on the stand again and run it again. Now, right now, the OS number 8 plug that's in here, and I'll probably run it with that just as a test, is one of those counterfeit Chinese plugs. It's only had 1 or 2 runs on it, so it should be sufficient for this, but just so you know, that's the plug that's in here. It's a counterfeit Chinese plug. It's the only other one I had available real quickly without opening a new plug package up, because I've got my other OS 8 plug is in some other engine right now, probably a Super Tiger engine. But anyway, that was just a quick follow-up video on how this cleaning turned out using the Zep 15282 cleaning solution for, or cleaning powder for ultrasonic cleaners. And that process was shown in yet a separate video.